Welcome back to the program. I'm your host, Chiamaka Nwafor. This week, we're going to East Africa, particularly to Kenya. It's been quite rife with a lot of stories, protests. First of all, it was a protest about the dead journalist killed in police detention. And then it's now the protest of the anniversary of the last year's protest. And it's been quite a sad one, the deaths and the injuries that are coming out from there. But just let's take a look at this report from Africa News.
Protests in Kenya has risen to 16, says Amnesty International, with most of the dead reportedly killed by police. Hundreds of people were also wounded, with local media and eyewitnesses saying that security forces fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse crowds in the capital, Nairobi. Thousands of people had taken to the streets in cities across the country to mark last year's demonstrations in which more than 60 people died. They were protesting against a controversial tax bill, and while President William Ruto later withdrew the proposed tax hike, people are still angry over the use of excessive force by security agencies. There were more demonstrations earlier this month over the death of people died. They were protesting against a controversial tax bill, and while President William Ruto later withdrew the proposed tax hike, people are still angry over the use of excessive force by security agencies. There were more demonstrations earlier this month over the death of a blogger in police custody.
Now, that was the death toll of the people that have died from this current protest, celebrating the one-year anniversary of an earlier protest in 2024. That was the finance bill protest. Now, some lawmakers, whether they say the Kenyan finance minister, has said something about it. He's calling it a coup attempt. Let's take a look.
The Kenya's Interior Minister accused protesters on Thursday of a coup attempt after deadly demonstrations were witnessed in many cities and towns across the country. The Interior Minister, Kipchumba Murkomen, said this while assessing the damage to businesses in the capital Nairobi on Thursday, where goods were stolen from multiple stores. He said police will follow up with owners whose CCTV cameras captured the looters to ensure swift arrest. Kenyans mobilized Wednesday's protest on social media platforms to mark the one-year anniversary of huge anti-tax protests when demonstrators stormed Parliament, and at least 60 people were killed. 20 others are still missing. Parliament and the President's office were on Wednesday barricaded with razor wire, and protesters were unable to use the roads leading to the two establishments. The number of Kenyans who died during Wednesday nationwide protests over police brutality and bad governance has now doubled to 16, according to the state-funded Human Rights Commission. Property were also destroyed in the protests that attracted thousands of frustrated young Kenyans. At least 2 police stations were also razed down by the angry protesters.
We have joining us from Kenya to help us understand the situation and further give us insight is George Abwajo. He is an economist, governance and public finance management specialist. He's a serving member of the Nairobi City County Budget and Economic Board. He has vast experience with youth because he himself has vied for a position way back in 2022. Now, George, you've heard this report. You are on the ground. Can you give us an insight to what's happening there?
Hello, African viewers. My name is George Abwajo from Nairobi, Kenya. It's good to be with our Trust TV News this evening. One is I was barely a youth a year ago. I'm 36 years old. And so we have for a long time worked with the youth in the various organs and processes. Myself being an aspirant for 2022 general elections. What's really happening what's really happening in Kenya here is we are seeing restless population of the young people. The protests have been christened Gen Z, but they are basically it's a combination of millennials and the Gen Z. In fact, the mobilization that is taking place, millennials are really playing a big part, but largely because of problems that have been there for the last 10 years. I think these problems have reached what I can say a tipping point, whereby the young people have currently now said enough is enough. Majority of the young people supported President Ruto in 2022. I was the opposite camp. I was supporting the aspirant Odinga, Raila Odinga. And so Ruto used the youth card to get into power, promising them jobs and life-changing opportunities when he got into power. And so youth took a chance on him to probably knowing that their situation is going to change. 2 or 3 years down the line, the young people feel betrayed. And this has been exacerbated by the excesses and the largesse shown by national government officials. So the young people, the disappointment of the young people, they're growing restless. 3 years, Ruto has been serving now. And the young people are saying, I think this cannot go on normally. And so they have been mobilizing, using social media platforms to mobilize and show the protest. Now, it hasn't been good, especially with the population that's here. And every single day there's something that keeps on coming, whether there's police excesses, and the anger keeps on growing. The government itself, the way they have reacted, they have never fulfilled their promises. So people were willing to take a chance on President Ruto, but they have not, President Ruto himself they are saying that they can no longer trust him because he's never fulfilled any single promise he gave to young people. The reason why this protest people came out in 2025 is because last year, when people died and there was a finance bill, he made a raft of promises to the young people. He said all the dead and the injured, there were going to be compensation. He said there are not going to be any taxes that is going to increase, and the welfare of the young people is going to increase. So the young people are feeling 1 year down the line after the Gen Z protest, none of the promises has been achieved. And it so happened that young people are still being abducted, and some of them some of them are dying in police cells.
Okay. Now, prior to this 1 year celebration protest again, there's been some that's been happening for a while earlier in the month, and that's for the death of Albert Ojwang.
Yes.
Now, first of all, we see that there's been a report that the police has arrested some people in relations, or has arrested the police involved, and then some civilians in relation to that situation. Now, first of all, really, because we keep hearing the story, did Albert Ojwang actually die from police brutality? We're going to start from that. 1, 2. Do you think that the government responded adequately? So just let's take this, and then we'll continue.
Yeah, how Albert Ojwang died, it is said, and it's the public domain, that the deputy police commissioner, that Albert Ojwang made a statement on social media damaging the character of the deputy police commissioner of Kenya. Now, the deputy police commissioner made a complaint to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. The criminal investigation people went to Albert's home, took Albert, and later he died in the hands of the police cell over 350 kilometers away from where he was removed from his family and in a cell in central Nairobi. Kenyans had a feeling that the deputy police commissioner who made the complaint is complicit or in this death because he probably used the state powers to arrest Albert Ojwang. Up to today, there is no evidence where Albert Ojwang did a character assassination in his social media because the social media accounts by Albert Ojwang shows no same issue. And therefore, how the government reacted is by arresting the officer who is commanding the cells. Now, Kenyans were unconvinced. They are saying the problem is someone abuses powers. The deputy police commissioner abuses powers. And therefore, the deputy commissioner ought to have resigned from his job, arrested and jailed. That was the mood of the young people. So when that did not happen, and the deputy police commissioner gave a statement that he stepped aside, the majority of the population felt betrayed, that he is complicit in the murder. He used his own powers to arrest Alberto Juang, and therefore he needs to be arrested and arraigned in court. So that's why there was much anger for Kenyans. And after that, a week after that, 6 more young people have died in police cells. I don't know whether this is coincidental. And so Kenyans are feeling that this is something that has been happening and should therefore stop. So they are not convinced with the measures the government has taken so far. They are saying the big dogs in government who perpetuate this plan or misuse their powers in abducting young people and killing them in the police cells need to go. So until they will see that, the young people will continue being restless, because they are saying the government has sacrificed the small officers at the station. The person who ordered for the killing of Alberto Juang is still in office. And that's why it keeps on. And the government has been losing the online war. They've been losing the online war because as much as they have propaganda, there are very many young people who are mobilizing through social media platforms like TikTok and Twitter. And on all these platforms, the truth is always being circulated, and they have been calling government propaganda for what it is, the government propaganda and lies.
Okay. All right. Now, so you said something. Now, that deputy police commissioner still hasn't resigned till this moment.
Yes.
And the president or the constitution doesn't permit for the president to tell him to step aside or suspend him till further notice after the issue has been investigated.
Yes, proceed.
Can you hear me, George? It seems we're having a bit of a technical issue there. Yes, the network is trying to speak with George. Well, all right, George.
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, so are you saying that the president doesn't have the ability or the right to say, step aside, step down for the time being? When this issue is resolved, we'll put you back or we'll reinstate you?
That's what Kenyans are saying. They are saying the president is the commander-in-chief. For all the problems that are facing Kenyans currently, they feel the president can solve that problem. One is police brutality on the young people. They feel that the president can rain on his people, but again, they are saying because the deputy police commissioner who ordered the death comes from the president's tribe, the president is hesitant to have any action. So they are saying the president is hesitant because the next 1 year, the current police commissioner is due for retirement. So the deputy police commissioner, who is being accused of this death, is destined to be the police commissioner. And because he comes from the president's tribes, Kenyans are actually arguing that President Ruto still wants to use the deputy police commissioner to handle his own interest in handling protests. And that's why Kenyans are not convinced. They are saying president is not serious. Two, in regards to the general economic conditions that are facing young people, again, they are saying President Ruto has not lived according to his expectation. He has continued appropriating money to State House and the office of the president excessively. He has continued budgeting for an account like he has continued budgeting for an account State House construction, that the budget for State House has basically increased from 2 billion to about 5 billion annually. And so they are feeling, Kenyans are feeling like the president is not serious in tackling condition 3. His word can never be the bond. The Kenyans, the young people are feeling President Ruto has made many promises. He seems to be living in another world different from what the young people are living in, because every single day he promises, but still Kenyans are not feeling. So I would add that his economic wand or economic magic to raising the fortunes of the Kenyan population who are restless has not yet borne fruit. And so Kenyans will continue agitating. Unless something drastic happens, we are bound to see many, many protests in future. I think this has been brought about our constitution that allows us to speak and generally agree to assemble anytime that we want. And we have a very vibrant judiciary that even if I'm arrested, I should be released after 24 hours. So the young people are unafraid of the policemen. The way they mobilize, they believe even if they are caught, they would go to court and get released. So that fuels the continuation of the protest. And I'm feeling right now, President Ruto may need some economic magic to currently make the young people a bit, make the young people stop the protest. But at this level, before the end of the year, there will be another protest that are planned. So it's not, it does not look good for President Ruto.
Joe, I was about to say, it seems like the protest way of doing things or life is come to stay in Kenya because, you know, it's from one protest to the other. But the question I'm going to ask now is, do these protests actually have any impact? Because if you keep coming out and then nothing is happening, then why are you still coming out?
There's a progress, but I can say there's slow progress. One, the young people are emboldened that during Kenyan second liberation in the 90s, it is protest that gave us the new constitution. Okay. So we were a one-party system till 92. And that protest almost happened for over 10 years, from 1982 to 1992. There was agitation on the streets every single week, every single year. There's an agitation called Saba Saba. It happened in the 90s. So young people are convinced we may not reach there now, but continuous protest. Example, last year's protest yielded the dropping of the finance bill. So Kenyans are saying, we went to the street, and because we went to the street, the finance bill was not passed. So the finance bill had punitive taxes that were going to affect the lives of normal Kenyans. Two, every single day there is a protest. Kenyans are feeling they are moving forward. For example, it was normal for young people to be caught and thrown in cells without any problem, and no one has ever been held accountable. And we have never seen a deputy police commissioner stepping aside or resigning. So by someone stepping commissioner, they are feeling there's accountability that is creeping in. It's slowly by slowly, they are forcing changes. It may not happen wholesome, but they believe at every single step they are doing, there are changes that are happening. And so it's a win by the young people. I believe future presidents in Kenya may not be having easy because people now know that the previous president was always having it is when you won election, people are waiting for 5 years. So however bad you are working, people are waiting for your work, then would remove you or affirm you for a second term. Okay. But right now, people know that they have to work. If you really do not work, young people are going to go to the street and force you to work for them. I think that is the scorecard. That is the benefit that Kenyans are getting currently.
Okay, we'll be going on a very short break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Welcome back to Africa Update. And we've been speaking with George Abwajo over in Nairobi, Kenya. He's given us what's happening, insights to actually the happenings in Kenya. Now, George, before we went on the break, you made us understand that Kenya actually is well, I say the new Kenya is founded on protest, and so therefore the people of Kenya will continue to protest to get what they want. Actually, thankfully, they see the results of their protest. But now, let's go a bit further. Now, what do you people, or rather the people of Kenyans, what do you people want? One, what will this protest mean? Because you're saying that if before we'll leave you till 5 years, then we'll take you out. Well, it seems like, no, we're not leaving you. Get to work. And if you don't get to work, once the 5 years is up, you're still going out. Either way, you know, that's what it means. How will this impact on Ruto come 2027 elections? I know it's it's just 2 years away, but how will this impact on Ruto? One, and how do you think this protest also impacts the East African region?
I think every single day that the economy is sharp, we're losing billions. And personally, I fear that investors may not take it kindly when they see the photos of Kenyans burning and looting in various places, because every single demonstration, there are goons or thieves who can take advantage. Two, President Ruto's current rating is very low. And if elections to happen today, the truth is the opposition is not united. So if opposition were united today, fact is Ruto may lose if elections are to happen today. Three, the opinion is basically decided. Again, as George, I know Ruto may not, I didn't vote him, and he may not be my cup of tea, but I feel we should, once we voted in, because majority of my age mates, my folks, voted for Ruto, and I'm feeling we should allow him the benefit of doubt to finish his term in 2027. Yes, we should do the pressure, but democracy demands that we should allow him to act. If he leaves that office, what now? Because in Kenya currently, the head of parliament is from Ruto's party, and so he basically has the party. So I'm feeling, yes, we are right to push, or the young people are right to push for the changes, but we should allow him to finish his term democratically. And so this is a lesson for those people who vote wrongly, because I feel majority of people, he was not my person. And so I feel majority of the people voted him because first, he did not mean to be there. He was not the right person to be president. So I'm feeling let people also take responsibility on the decisions that they made. So as to who or how Ruto is going to go back, it depends on, one, a united opposition. There is an opinion. There's an opinion that the young people, Ruto may depend on the ethnic vote to go back, and he's been wooing the ethnic, basically ethnic leaders. So the young people need to stay away from ethnic divide. If they stay away from ethnic divide, there's also young people who feel like all the presidential contenders right now, the people who they consider can have the campaign muscle, are not the ideal people. They are Ruto-like politicians who have been there, done that. And so they are feeling we probably need a new face, more like what happened in Senegal, where Sonko came and with his friend and changed the system because he was not an insider. So Kenyans are feeling that they think it's time to bring someone who is outside the system to challenge President Ruto. The disadvantage is all those people who have presented themselves, who are outside the system, may not challenge a proper campaign with the nice finances to reach all the corners of the country. As we know, a normal presidential election in Kenya can go as high as 5 billion Kenya shillings. Okay. So that is a very high amount for any presidential candidate to have. So that's the challenge that Kenyans are having. There's a conflicted on who should we replace Ruto with.
I'm really sorry to cut you short. Time is not our friend, and we need to wrap up and leave the studios right now. But it's been quite insightful and informative having you on the program, giving us insights on the happenings in East Africa, Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update today.
Thank you very much, and greetings to all our African viewers, specifically Nigeria.
All right, that's it. That was George Abwajo from Kenya talking to us about happenings in the country. And that's so much we have for you today on Africa Update. For more of our programs, documentaries, and news, do want to follow us on our social media platforms and on our YouTube live stream. Same place, same time next week. I'm your host, Chiamaka Nwafor. Bye for now.